Most entrepreneurs think scaling is all about growth, more clients, more revenue, more visibility. But what they usually discover too late is that scaling doesn't fix what is broken. It exposes it. Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. In this episode, we're talking about what most entrepreneurs miss about scaling. Not theory, not buzzwords, real lessons learned while building a business that actually lasts. My guest today is Ivan Vislavskiy, co-founder and CEO of Comrade Digital Marketing. Ivan started the way many entrepreneurs do, by selling his own skill. Over time, he faced the same inflection point many founders hit, where working harder no longer works and growth demands something different. Systems, leadership, letting go. In this conversation, we talk candidly about the shift from operator to owner, the mistakes founders repeat when trying to scale, why growth often amplifies problems instead of solving them, and what it really takes to build a business that doesn't depend entirely on you. If you're great at what you do but feel hesitant about growth because you don't want to lose control, quality, or yourself in the process, this episode is for you. My conversation with Ivan Vislavskiy begins right now. Stick around. Ivan, welcome to the program. I'm so glad you're my guest today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad that we got a chance to connect and happy to be here.
Great. Well, I'm happy that you're happy to be here. So, Ivan, before Comrade, well, let me start at the root of Comrade. I love the name, that name Comrade as a business. How did you come up with that? Translate the word. We hear comrade a lot, but usually in the same type of movies, usually, Russian military comrade, and all that. I know it has a greater meaning than just that. So tell me about the root of the word comrade and how that applied to your business.
Sure. Well, first of all, the word comrade is a French word. I don't specifically remember the true exact meaning of the word, but it's very similar to word Sherpa. And Sherpa is the one that helps you get to the top of the mountain. Let's say Mount
Everest or something,
Everest, for instance, right. So comrade is usually a person who is here to help you get to a point where you're trying to go. I guess the military people started using this word in a specific way. Comrade in arms, basically, you're whatever you do, you're always there to support them. You're always there to protect them. You're always there as their military brother. But it's just one sort of connotation of the word, one usage of the word, and certainly stuck around because of the movies. How it came about, let me sort of give you a short / medium story. Originally, our company was named CF Style. And don't ask me why. It was a very quick decision that we had to make when we formed a corporation, my business partner and I. A few years later, we had an incredibly smart and very talented creative person join our team. And he looked at our name. He was like, guys, I'm going to join you with one condition. This name, CF Style,
name's got to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're a marketing agency. We're trying to appeal to our prospects. And imagine a prospect sitting there with 3 proposals on their table. Who do you think they're going to pick? Are they going to pick CF Style? No way. CF Style doesn't mean anything. We gotta
almost sounds like a clothing. It almost sounds like a clothing brand.
Exactly.
It could be anything, right?
Could be anything, exactly. But Comrade, even if it creates some. Not specifically positive emotions, it's still revolutionary. It's still big. It's still interesting. They'll look into it.
Exactly. Like I did. I always see company names like, wow, that's an interesting name. Where did they come up with that? Yeah.
Yep. And that's how we came up and decided to use this name.
Oh, that's great. So before Comrade became a real company, you were essentially selling your own skill, right? I don't know if it was a side hustle or it was just Ivan. But what was the moment you realized that skill alone, because clearly you have some skill, was that alone was not a business?
Well, from early days, I always knew that I would have my own business. I had this entrepreneurial skill, I guess, from my father, who was an entrepreneur. Back in Russia, I actually migrated from Russia, living what you call a true American dream.
My
Migrated
father
when I
was similar.
9.
My father came from Poland,
Yeah,
and
I have Polish ties as well.
captured by the Germans during World War II. There were two destinations for people they captured. One was a concentration camp, which he did not fit that, but they put him in a labor camp, and he loved the Russian people because he and a Russian campmate escaped together.
Wow.
And,
What an
and
incredible
joined
story.
of all things, a Polish unit of the British Army. And my father, during those days, could speak fluent Russian because there was, half the people in the camp were Poles and a few unlucky Russians that got caught up in it. And but anyway, I digress. We have that similar, and then he came with my mother and lived his American dream. So I think maybe that's where both of us got our kind of entrepreneurial thing. Even though he was not a classic entrepreneur, leaving everything you know and coming to another country is very entrepreneurial, right? Whether you work a
Absolutely.
day job or not. So that's a great thing to look up to and respect and in awe, really. Sorry, I digress.
No worries. This is very. Thank you for sharing your story. It's quite a fascinating story. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting conversations with your father. So, yeah, when I migrated, I always knew that this is the reason of the migration to U.S. so that I could one day have an amazing business that I can build. I could already envision hundreds of people working in the office, everyone smiling, everyone excited, and so on.
All right. Well, I'll ask you later if that's the way it rolled out, but I have a feeling it rolled out a little differently.
It is now. I
now,
think so.
yeah.
We're currently a 100 people operation.
Wow.
But yeah, but it definitely didn't start that way. So I started working. I had a computer science degree, and so I started working for various marketing agencies while doing some hustle work on the side. Build websites, provide some marketing projects here and there, and the goal was always to provide this amazing quality work, which I knew this would be a reason for someone to recommend me versus someone else. Like this was my rule number one, I guess, without really knowing much. And I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go to school for marketing. I had like a very computer science, like very nerdy education. So I knew how to code things. I knew how to build things. And I guess I knew how to structure things, which was quite detrimental, quite important, for my entrepreneurial journey. Little by little, I started, as I was working at various marketing agencies, I was always asking weird questions. Like the managers would always ask me, like, why are you asking this question about hiring or about client retention? This is not your business. You're working in development.
Stay in your lane, Ivan. Stay in your lane, right?
Exactly. But I was soaking up knowledge because I knew that one day I could use it. Because as soon as I start my own company, as soon as it will be a real thing, I'll need to make decisions. And it's better to learn on someone else's mistakes. And this is hopefully what we're doing today, right? So that your audience, your future be entrepreneurs, or someone that just started out can learn from our mistakes too.
Yeah, absolutely. So early on, Ivan, what did success look like to you? And how did that definition change once the company actually started growing?
I was 20-some-year-old, very young, very ambitious. I had a girlfriend. I didn't have any financial big decisions or responsibilities to my name, which was
to be young again, huh?
Exactly. So what success looked like back in the day is just knowing that we're growing, knowing that we add new clients. Every single hire felt like a success, like a win. Decisions, good decisions or bad decisions, also felt like a win. I vividly remember how we moved from our first we had like a tiny, tiny little office. It was more like a meeting room in the bank. And then we moved into our first real office. And then from there, we progressed. Our biggest office headquarters was 1.3500 square feet until COVID hit. And just knowing that this was a game to me. This was like enjoying my life while building this, while trying to build this business. Until I was probably around 30s, and it became clear to me that this is no longer a game. This is, there are a lot of people that depend on you. All of their families depend on you. All the clients depend on you. So you have to build these things. You have to scale this properly and smartly, because one day, it could all fall apart, and then what? You're gonna let down a lot of people. So probably, I want to say in my mid 30s is when I sort of shift my mentality to, okay, this has to be a successful business. So we have to do a lot of right decisions. I have to, first of all, figure out how to build my own knowledge and become an extremely versatile leader, right? And strategic in that sense as well. And not just, think about it as just a fun endeavor, fun entrepreneurship. And then from 30s, where I had to figure out not only how to apply my skill, but also how to manage people. But then from managing people, I had to figure out how to manage managers, and then how to build leaders and executives. And now I have other responsibilities and opportunities. And I just turned 40 last year rather, in October. And I guess I had this in another shift, mental shift, where now I have to preserve and double down. I really love this saying, 10x is better than 2x. I don't know if you read the book by Dan Sullivan. An incredible book. Highly recommend any of you that are in the business. It was definitely a game changer for me when I read it, maybe 2 years ago. But now, it's all about how do you approach scale? How do you grow 5 times faster? What decisions do you need to make today so that a year from now we're doubling down, or we're growing much faster, much more aggressively? So it's a lot more strategic now.
Yeah. Was there a point where the business was working on paper, but personally felt unsustainable for you as the founder? And if that's the case, what was happening at that stage?
Admittedly, this was happening. I think this is happening to probably quite a few entrepreneurs. One of my, I guess, key weaknesses was lack of financial education, financial acumen. And that led to building out things just based on my gut feeling, and not based on structured P&L reports, balance sheet reports, and so on.
It was the world according to Ivan at that moment, right?
Exactly. And I felt like, okay, today we're going to hire a new talent just because he's great. And tomorrow you're sitting there and thinking, oh my God, if I'm not going to get this check, I'm not going to be able to make a payroll. And then what are we going to do? And not going to lie, I had probably a year, maybe a year and a half of this financial insecurity, financial lack of understanding how we're going to get out of this circle, until luckily at that point, I was always able to tap into coaching and advisory. So I connected with this incredible coach. His name is John Morris, and he's been a very amazing to us, helped us, and taught me a lot. And together we sat down, we quickly looked at the financials, and he's like, dude, no, this is not sustainable. You got to change things around. And little by little, I started shifting things around. And then we were joined by my current business partner. His name is Sasha Burson. And he brought that financial skill with him. And ever since then, that gap that I had, it was filled with the right individual, with the talented individual, and we no longer have that problem. It's actually upside down right now, where we make profitable decisions. I don't know if you read the book Profit First. Not only we read it, we implement it, and we live by it.
Yeah, there was a stage in my business where I was both. I'm sure you can identify with this. For a while, you feel like a firefighter. All you're doing is putting out fires. But I was also the arsonist, starting all those fires. I'd start all these fires, and I'd spend all my time putting them out. And I kind of misinterpreted how busy I was with how successful I must be, because I'm busy, right? But it was busy work. It was not productive. But I used to chase cash. And when I focused entirely on cash, I brought the cash in. It wasn't profitable cash, Ivan, but that wasn't my problem today. I just needed to cover payroll. And so anytime I focused on one thing, it was at the expense of 5 other things, right? So I had to kind of realize, okay, I can learn all these different things, but I really need to surround myself with people that know all these different things, because I can kind of do one thing at a time. I can multitask, but not well. And I eventually came to the conclusion that if you want to improve your cash flow, if you want to improve your market share, if you want to improve your profit, you can either work on those things individually, normally at the expense of something else, or you can just concentrate on making the best decisions possible. Great decisions lead to profit, cash flow, market share, whatever KPI you're chasing. Stop chasing the KPI. Now, I've said this on this show a few times, so my regular audience is going to go, oh my God, he's talking about this again. But just for our conversation, when I turned 30, I got my pilot's license. I was always this one kid on the playground that looked up at a plane and could tell you exactly, the color of the shirt of the pilot who was flying it. I knew everything about airplanes, and at least I thought I did. So when I turned 30, I celebrated by getting my pilot's license. And one thing that every pilot is trained on, whether you're flying a little Cessna as I did, or a 380 or whatever, is anytime you're in the cockpit, you need to do 3 things simultaneously: aviate, navigate, and communicate. All 3. And if you fail doing one of those, you're the bonehead pilot that hits the mountain trying to diagnose another problem. And I kind of morphed that general advice over to business. Whenever I concentrated on one problem, I solved it at the expense of another problem. I hit the mountain, so to speak. So I think in business, you need to aviate, navigate, communicate, however that translates to business specifically. And in your case, you brought on someone that had the skill you were missing. I think that's an excellent way. You either have to learn the skill, and in which case that's one more thing you got to do, or you have to acquire the skill through strategic hiring. And it sounds like you did the latter, which I think is the better move, because it takes the burden off of you so you can do uniquely what only Ivan can do, that no one else can match Ivan, right?
Exactly. And even if you start learning today, let's say everything about the P&Ls and balance sheets and all the KPIs and so on, you're still going to make a lot of mistakes. You're just no going around it, right? Like, it's going to take you several years to become good at it. So why do it? And I realize that all entrepreneurs, all of us, we have our strengths and weaknesses. But I think universally, we have to tap into a good talent. If we have a believable person who did it in the past, then we can tap to him and we can call him and we can say, look, I've never done P&L. I don't understand how to read P&L. Would you help me? Like, would you walk me through this? Would you maybe can I pay you $100 once every 2 weeks so you can look through it and maybe signal whatever issues you see there? Like, it can take you much, much further than just trying to read all the fancy books or watch YouTube videos about it.
Yeah. Plus, if you go on YouTube these days, you're going to be taught by like 11-year-old children. They're the ones doing all the how-to videos because they get particularly.
Who's going to YouTube? Everyone is going to ChatGPT now.
Now it's, yeah,
I
exactly.
think it works.
Totally. When founders say they want to scale, what do you think they usually mean, and what do they often misunderstand about maybe their interpretation of the word scale?
We had this discussion beforehand, and I think you're right in your assumption that growth and scalability does not equal. It's not the same thing. We always look at growth and think, well, I'm scaling my business, but we're not. You can grow it in the wrong ways. I was thinking I was growing my business with all the wrong hires they could be good hires, but then at the wrong time, right? Yeah. When I couldn't afford them. But was it growth? Was it scalable? No. It was getting me in financial hardship, which I had to get out of, right? And it required a lot of effort, a lot of focus, and so on. So my definition of scalability is building the fundamentals of the business in a way where it can grow and where it can scale 2x, 4x, maybe 10x eventually, right, without breaking. So all the processes, and that's why you have all the SOPs in place, where you have the proper org chart. Everyone knows their place in their org chart. They know who they report to. They know their KPIs. They know why they do certain things. They know who to go to if they have an issue, and so on. So org chart, SOPs. You have financial layer, constantly looking at that. You bring the right talent. That's A-type talent, right? That you don't need to teach yourself. That can teach you certain skills and certain methods and so on. And that truly is going to get you to a scalable foundation that can scale and hopefully scale without you. I think the goal, there's this individual, he's an amazing business coach. His name is Dan Martell. I've been following him for quite a while. He's a YouTuber, and he has a really incredible book called Buy Back Your Time. Highly recommend this book as well. And his methodology starts with, instead of bringing new hire for a specific skill, bring a hire that you can delegate certain amount of work to so you can free up your time. Because ultimately, if you're the owner of the business, if you're the entrepreneur, you have to constantly grow yourself. You have to become smarter. You have to have more time to make proper decisions. You have to have more time for education. You have to have more time for thinking about the scalability layer and so on, strategic decisions. But for that, you cannot be a firefighter. Like that's going to put you in a place where you just, all you do is putting out fires. You're not thinking about this strategically.
Right.
So hopefully the scalability is, the goal of scalability is to take yourself away from the busy life of the business, of the equation, and so that the business can scale without you, all the major functions.
Yeah, it's been said by many business mentors and coaches and professionals that we all want to work. The ultimate goal is to stop working in your business, rather on your business, right? And I think it's very common for founders to spend too much time in their business. It's necessary to get off the ground. What gets you from A to B is unique. What gets you from A to B will kill you from B to C, right?
Exactly.
It's not, that itself is not scalable. I cannot scale myself to do more than I'm doing, right? There's still only, so many, it's still only 7 days in a week, 30 days or so in a month, 365 days in a year. That doesn't expand. I can get faster, I can get more competent, but at some point, I'm like a restaurant with 5 tables. I'm never going to make more than a restaurant with 5 tables can deliver.
And
one
Mike,
thing sure.
Mike, sorry to interrupt you, but it's also about your energy level. When you started this business, you were capable to do all the things. You were capable to where 10
Bring it
hats
on.
at the same
Bring it
time.
on, Ivan. I'm Superman. Yeah.
Exactly. But let's say 5 years, 10 years into it, your level of energy is not the same. You're not
Right.
as excited
Right.
about this business as you were. So you getting burned out. So without this evolution, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And most likely your business, either it's going to plateau. And when it plateaus, it goes down. It dies, right? Without innovation, without growth, any business dies. So that's why we have to be mindful about our level of energy and about how do we do the same things we've been doing 5 years from now, right? Like who could do those things?
Yeah.
What kind of systems do we need to build? What kind of people do we need to hire so that we can step up to the next level?
That's very wise. As we spoke about off camera and referenced just a little bit ago, I didn't really understand the difference in my early days of business between growth and scale. I thought they were synonymous with each other. And I could easily grow the company. The problem is I wasn't scaling it. And the difference that I have since come to learn in terms of the consequences of that was I was growing my company out of business because I'm in the manufacturing space. We sell $100,000 pieces of equipment. So if I wanted to grow 40% in a year, which is audacious, right? I would have to invest 300 times more money on a larger factory, on more inventory, on more equipment, on more labor, on more support staff to handle that, and then grow into that, right? And I think rapid, unchecked, unprepared growth is a luxury that most small businesses cannot afford. And I learned when I had that mentality of grow, 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 I learned that afterwards that the most profitable word in that environment is no. I would have made way more money saying no. I would have made way more money sending you $1,000 check to not call me again because that would have been cheaper. And now with a little bit more perspective, 34 years in business and talking to countless entrepreneurs and reading books and all this, I've come to learn that, when we hear a company goes bankrupt, we think, oh, the poor guys, they weren't profitable. That's not always the case. Very profitable companies go bankrupt because they run out of cash flow. And they are funding growth so quickly. I just saw a whole special on Braniff International Airlines, which was probably when you were a child, they were flying through the skies. They were out of Texas. And they got a whole bunch of, I think a major investor bought them and decided they were going to turn them around from a small Texas carrier to an international airline. So they bought some 747s and DC-8s and 707s, and they even leased a Concorde to fly over the U.S., not at supersonic speed, but they did it, as a stunt. And they were pretty successful, but they grew so fast. They went bankrupt 4 times, Ivan. They had a rebirth. They got new money. They slightly changed their name. They got a few more planes. They went bankrupt a total of 4 times because they just put growth in front of everything. And so I love what you said when I asked you about scale. One of the first things you started talking about was SOPs, standard and operating procedures. It's like, have your ducks in a row to grease the runway to make it easier to scale. But that is something I think that kills, 80% statistically, Ivan, as you probably know, 80%, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, of businesses fail by year 15, half by year 5. Horrible odds. But I have a feeling that 80% of the businesses that fail, a good percentage of that 80% is because they just ran out of cash. Not necessarily they weren't profitable, not because their products were bad or their idea was bad. I'm sure that's some of it. But I think a lot of it is, particularly young businesses, they underestimate the cost of growth and they're not prepared for it. Is that your perspective as well?
I could not agree with you more especially what you said about saying no to businesses, but there's another side of the story, which is specialization. I think it's super, super important. I think a lot of businesses, us including, like when I started my business, we were welcoming every single opportunity from any industry. We're a marketing agency. So I think at one point we calculated we service clients from something like 40 different industries.
Wow.
Imagine becoming good at serving or providing marketing campaigns for 40 different industries. You would never be good.
Right.
Who would pick you?
Right.
So luckily, we decided that's not the way to scale. In order for us to properly scale, we have to become the winners. Well, I truly love this analogy of business and sports, right? Like, in order for you to win the games, you have to have a winning team. You have to have a winning concept. You have to play just one sport. You can't be playing all kinds of different sports.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We niched down, and it was tough at the beginning. But luckily, it's been maybe 4 years since we adopted this philosophy and methodology. And now you can grow your company. You can scale without specialty. No one wants to work with the generalist.
Right. Well, you mentioned a couple of books that you recommended. One that I'll add to that pile, but you probably read, is from Jim Collins called Good to Great. And he studied pairs of publicly traded companies that were in the identical space. So one example was Schick and Gillette, both personal grooming products. One did remarkably well in that space, and one did okay in that space. The difference, one of the companies' personal grooming products were one of 500 things they sold. And the other one, that's all. They're one-trick pony.
That's all they did.
And his takeaway was, whatever you do, you need to assure yourself accurately that this is the best-in-class product. Don't be an also-ran. Don't say, well, Ivan started a digital agency. I'm going to throw digital agency into my factory lineup. I'm going to offer my customers electronic assembly equipment and a digital marketing agency. I will suck at one of them. And as I'm trying to learn the one I suck at, digital agency, it's going to affect the performance of what I am great at, right? So, yeah, I totally agree. Specialization, niche, as far down, because no one wants to compete with a niche market because there's not a lot of room in it, at least the perception is. And it's really easy for you to gain 100, top market share in a niche market.
And I guess I'll add one more thing to it, which is clearly understanding what kind of business are you. And there's some businesses that are purely bootstrapping, meaning that you don't have any outside investment. You can only rely on your own income in order to grow and scale your company, and this is it. And there's some companies that fully rely on outside investment, and their goal is a very aggressive growth, right? Like 10x of a normal, typical company. And what I see, because we obviously have a lot of clients come to us, I see that some entrepreneurs just confuse those two methodologies and philosophies, and they're looking at all the amazing growth that other companies are getting, but they're forgetting that there's a huge outside investment that's been made into marketing and sales and so on, and that's why they've been growing so fast. So just pick your lane and be comfortable with it, and just truly like understand what you can achieve with it and be happy with it.
So you talked about not being, I don't think you used these words, but what I took from it was not being the smartest person in the room, bringing someone in like your business partner that knew more about that particular thing than you did. At what point did you realize that you could no longer be the smartest person or the most involved person in every room? Was there like a whack-a-mole moment where you just got a 2x4 across the face, or was there an aha moment, or did that person just kind of show up and put the idea in your head?
No.
I see you smiling, so I have a feeling there's a story here.
Well, first of all, I always had my ego checked. I always knew that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I always knew that I wanted to I guess be that entrepreneur and this business owner that combines different strengths from different people, so that I can find individuals, top talent, A-type talent, that I can bring to the team and glue it all together. This was always a perception that I had about myself. In case of my business partner specifically, this happened organically because at that point there was another partner that wanted to let's call it take a loan sabbatical, quit the business, and sell his shares, and that's how the new business owner came about. But during the selection process, when we were talking to other individuals, I clearly identified and clearly had a list of criteria that I looked for from this individual that would join me as a future business partner. And most of those things on the checklist, on the criteria list, were things which I was bad at, which I needed help with, because I knew that. And one of my favorite things that I repeat all the time, to go fast, go alone; to go far, go together. So this was always my methodology that if I had a right business partner, if I had a right team, we can certainly, maybe we're not going to be fastest in the room, but we're certainly going to go into a far distance, and we're going to achieve the goal that we're looking for.
Excellent. I would assume in your daily work at Comrade that AI is probably part of your portfolio of tools in your toolbox. Where do you see AI genuinely helping founders scale? I'm not talking about specifically about a digital agency now, but where do you see AI helping founders scale, and where do you think it's being dangerously overhyped?
Great topic. Very, very hot nowadays. We've been using AI as a company for the last 4 years. Actually, even before it became like a hot topic, we've been already exploring AI. It used to be called LLM back in the day.
Yeah.
So I've been using
large language model for those that aren't up to the acronyms.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, thank you. And my entire team has been definitely hooked to it because of its superior ability to do things really, really fast. But you have to be really, really careful not to fully outsource your thinking to AI. AI is great when it comes to executing simple tasks. Once again, we're going back to SOPs. First of all, you have to have clear SOPs, and only then you will figure out what are your repeatable processes that you can easily outsource to AI, right? But you cannot and you should not be outsourcing strategic decisions to AI because it's not there. It's not capable. It will give you the answer just to please you, but 100%. It doesn't mean that it's the right answer.
Yeah. All the companies like OpenAI that owns ChatGPT, its priority is to get you to come back. So it will always respond with, Ivan, great question, Ivan, or whatever. LLM technology, I trust more than generative AI. Mm-hmm. Generative AI is Wild West at the moment. It is generally accurate, but I hosted I chair a conference, an annual conference for the electronics industry, and one of my other podcasts is more about reliability of electronics, and I recorded a podcast there at the conference, and it was an AI panel of professors and some PhD students, and to prepare for that interview for that podcast, I went on ChatGPT. I have the paid version, and which is supposed to be a little bit better. And I asked it, I told it what I'm doing. I'm hosting a panel. Tell me everything you do wrong. That's pretty much the prompt. Ivan, I got like 16 pages of I felt like I was a priest in a confessional and chat came in to say, "Father, forgive me, I've sinned. Here's everything I've ever done wrong."
Well,
And
at least it has self-awareness.
it has a lot of self-awareness. And one of the things that struck me, which was so true, was it will over enthusiastically show confidence in an answer it is not secure about.
Yeah.
It will just fall on its sword over whatever it generated, even though and it's programmed not to give you a probability scale. This may be 70% accurate or 10% accurate. Once it generates it, it just comes over with a huge amount of authority. And I thought that was pretty interesting self-awareness. They have not programmed it to protect itself at all costs, which I'll give Sam Altman some credit for that. But the LLM stuff is great. I use it for research all the time. I used it for you. I use it for all my guests. I use it when I record my technical podcast because I have to ask questions to subject matter experts that I know nothing about, right? But when it comes to generative, and it even has a little disclaimer, I can be wrong,
all the time.
Yeah. But I do think when it comes to analyzing data points, it's pretty good at seeing trends that mere humans can't really see, from our perspective. So I think that is certainly a strong business strength. Are there others?
Yeah, and I always tell my team and others that I speak with about AI, you cannot rely on AI more than you can rely on intern you just hire in your organization.
Right.
Well, let's imagine that there's a new individual that joins your organization. Are you going to let them help you make decisions, strategic decisions that are very, very important for your company? No. You're going to feed it with a lot of information, first of all. You're going to train it. You're going to educate it. You're going to test it. You're going to make sure it works, and so on and so on. And only then, little by little, you're going to start trusting it more and more and more. With the exception that AI cannot create yet. There's just humans are far, far better. Like we're just that's a known fact. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know if AI would be able to get to the level of creativity that us humans have. We're super adaptive, right? Like even if AI is going to get much, much, much better, where you're not going to be able to say, well, this is human, this is AI. We're still going to figure out.
We have things that you can't code. We have intuition.
Yep.
We have gut.
Exactly.
And
gut experience.
We've lived through things. Yes, exactly.
And right.
Humans might look at that as quirky or unreliable. They work for us. But your intuition is different than my intuition. So I couldn't run my life based on how you think because I don't know how you think. And you can't train an LLM on Ivan's sense of reasonability or sensibility or gut and life experience or mine. Hey, before we're starting to run out of time, so I do want to ask you some questions about Comrade. You mentioned earlier that you used to be all things to all people. 40 different industries you were trying to serve, and you wised up on that, and you realized that you want to be great at something, not okay at everything. What type of work do you do? What types of clients do you really attract or want to attract?
Yeah, so we're basically a search marketing agency for law firms and home services. Those are two separate niches that we picked. We have two separate brands that focus on those individual niches. What it means in practicality is we focus on all internet-related things, specifically AI search, Google search, paid ads on Google, Meta, LinkedIn, and so on and so on. Social media, email marketing, so basically all internet things. I guess one criteria that helps us identify if a prospect is a good fit for us, if we can if we're able to help them, is are the prospects searching for their service or not? And if they're not, most likely we're not a good fit. If there's enough search demand, then we have an amazing recipe to ensure that they will be visible and the prospects will find them. Click on their website, call them, fill out their form, and so on.
I started my business 3 years before the internet, the public internet came out. I started in '92, and I think, business started embracing the internet somewhere between '94 to '96 in that range. So the early days of trying to get Google or Yahoo or whatever, whatever the big players were at the time, to notice you was you had to have certain number of words in your website, and it would look at your website. So, they were keywords that had to be there. And this is the earliest days of SEO. We didn't even call it SEO back then. So I would, at the very bottom footer of my main page, it would be, say, a white background, and I would have white text, just repeating the same word over and over and over and over and over again, ad nauseum.
I remember that.
Right. And that was an early hack, because the search bots, the spiders that would go out, would go, oh, look, Mike has, electronic assembly written 197 times. That's going to be the first result. Well, Google got really wise very quickly, and it ignored that. If it used it too many times, it would just discount the whole thing. So then there became other hacks, and now it's an art. It's constantly changing. It's a cat and mouse game, that Google plays, and of course Google's sole goal is to make sure that the response that the user sees is useful. It's what the person was looking for. So there's a lot of competition for that. But now it's even more complicated, because people are now searching on chat as much as they are searching, if not more, on a normal search platform. And now even the search platforms have their own AI version, and it's using that. So now we have to, because the LLMs basically stopped learning things in 2022. I think it scoured everything up to 2022. And then it now goes out to the internet and looks up everything, pre and post that. But the search terms are different. The algorithms are different, because now we have to come up with ChatGPT or all the other, versions of it to get an answer. So it's become incredibly complex. I think if 3 years ago, if you had it down, if you had the latest version of, algorithm hacking, all that's out the window now, because AI changed everything. So how does Comrade stay up to speed with, you're basically riding the tip of a wave into the future, and it's so easy to either get buried by it or fall off the back end of it, right?
Yeah, no, we embrace it from early days. We certainly saw a shift, and we use a lot of data to analyze our user behavior, and we quickly saw that little by little, user behavior and buyer journey started changing. Little by little, Google started dropping some of the traffic, some of the clicks that they had, and ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and so on. They started to get, little by little percentage of that viewership of those users. So we started experimenting early on, and what we saw is that if the website's foundation was SEO properly, it was built for SEO. All the content was properly SEO. All the technical side of things was done properly. It has a very high probability that it will show up on AI systems as well, ChatGPTs and Perplexity and so on. So we did our analysis, and we investigated that in order for you to be shown there, you have to, your SEO has to be fully taken care of, and that will give you 70 to 80% success. And then there's remaining, 20 to 30% of other activities that you also need to do on top of just a generic typical SEO. So that said, we saw an opportunity for us and for our clients because we could be first to educate our clients. There are a lot of SEO agencies. There are not a lot of AI agencies
Right.
out there right now. So we've been experimenting. We've been coming up with our own theories and building up certain procedures and SOPs around that. And so far, we've seen incredible success, having our clients' presence been shown on AI systems, which generates more and more marketing qualified leads. There's just a huge shift right now. A lot of companies are freaking out, especially those that are fully focused on SEO and invested in SEO for many years. They've been okay, but companies that haven't or invested a little bit in SEO, they're losing everything. They just let's say a company would have previously 10 qualified leads a month. Now they would have virtually zero, and you have to quickly understand, like, what do I do? How do I grow my company and business if I have no more new leads? Right. It's not a thing you can change or fix overnight.
Right.
So there's a lot that's happening in the space right now.
Well, we're about out of time. For my audience that would like to learn more about Comrade, it's Comrade Digital Marketing. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct. That's the full company name.
For my audience that would like to get more information on Comrade Digital Marketing, if you're watching this on YouTube, look down here, and it'll go to see more, and that information will be there, particularly if you're the attorney type or the home services type. They are waiting for you. So feel free to look down here and get that URL. Also, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, when it's safe to do so, don't do it while you're driving. We like to keep our subscription base from falling. Then once it's safe to do so, look at the show notes on your favorite podcast app, and that information will be there as well. Ivan, thank you so much for spending all this time with me. That's an hour of your life you're not going to get back. So I really appreciate you being here, and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I wish you continued success in all that you do.
Here. Thank you so much. I definitely enjoyed our conversation. Hopefully it was valuable for your listeners. And
it definitely was for me. I'm confident it was valuable for them as well. And you taught me a few things about the digital marketing space, and you made me feel a whole lot better. I feel a little less stupid about my scaling mistakes because you know all about that. You appreciate that, and you know how easy it is for a business owner to get a little over enthusiastic about growth without all the proper preparation. So it's nice to hear that coming from someone who practiced it and was successful at that. So thanks again, Ivan. Again, continued success, and I really appreciate you being my guest.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, before I wrap up, here are some final thoughts. Scaling isn't about doing more, it's about becoming different. What stood out to me in this conversation with Ivan is that most of the real work of scaling happens internally, in your mindset, in how you lead, in what you're willing to let go of. Growth does not reward hustle forever. At some point, it demands systems, trust, and discipline to stop being the hero in your own business. If there's one takeaway from this episode, it's this. Scaling will not fix your problems. It will magnify them. It will blow them up. And that's not really a bad thing as long as you're willing to face what it reveals. For entrepreneurs listening or watching this episode, especially those who are great operators but hesitant to grow, remember this. You do not scale by working harder. You scale by building something that can work without you at the center of everything. Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We have been exceptionally busy, very busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. And one personal favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, consider giving us a like and subscribe. Those two simple clicks really help us expand our reach. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a terrific guest, I'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com to apply or recommend a guest. You can reach me directly at mike@reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com. And of course, a very quick shameless plug. If you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available both in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. That's it for me today. I'm out of here. Thanks for listening or watching. Until next time, be unstoppable. I'll see you again soon.